Hello and welcome to my channel. I just cleaned the studio and we're already gonna make a mess of it again because today we have a wrap up. So I am definitely behind on my wrap ups for the year. I have filmed them, they are coming, but they are going to be bi-monthly I think at this point, just because I haven't had the time to keep up with them monthly. So I have already done January, February, March and April. This is going to be May and June. And I do have a decent amount of books to talk about today, so we're going to get right into it. I'm not sure, some of them I'm not gonna have like too much to say about it, so this hopefully shouldn't be too long of a video, but I say that and then I go on tangents. So without further ado, let's jump right into it, starting with, if you're reading this, it's too late. This is part of the Secret series by the author Pseudonymous Bosch, which is an anonymous author. And this follows Cass and Max Ernest. The whole series follows them as they discover this secret society that's hiding this secret. We're not allowed to know what the secret is. They don't know what the secret is. So we're learning as they learn. And it's really great. The author like talks to you during some of it, and I think that it's just so funny. Like, it makes you laugh out loud most of the time. The author's kind of sassy a little bit, and it makes you seem like, the way it's written makes you seem like you're sassy too, because you obviously want to know more and you want the story to continue on. So like, the author's acting like you're talking back to them. And I really like this. This is a middle grade novel, so if you like middle grade or you know any children of this age range that would like this, absolutely pick this up. If you need a laugh, pick this up because it's a great time. It does get very serious at times, or like serious for a middle grade novel, because obviously there's some dangers going on here. The secret is going on, but I really enjoyed this one just as much as the first one, which is, I'm not gonna say it's rare for me, but like to like the sequel. I know it's rare for a lot of readers to like the sequel as much, if not more, than the first book, and I definitely think this is gonna be a series that gets better the more you read. The next one I picked up is A Man and His Cat, and this is a graphic novel. It's a manga about a man who adopts this ugly cat that nobody has wanted for years, and we find out more about him and why he wants to adopt this cat as we go along. And I think there are at least 2 or 3 other volumes in this that I have not picked up yet, but I think it's just so cute. It's so wholesome. If you're looking for a wholesome manga to pick up, absolutely pick this one up. It's super short as well, but we pretty much hear from the perspective of the cat through the entire thing, and I love that because he has been so unloved for most of his life, and getting to see him love and be loved, it's just the most wholesome thing that I've read in a while, and I definitely can't wait to pick up the rest. I just have not had the time, funds, or bookshelf space to get the rest of them. The next one was a reread, and it's probably one of the few classics that I have reread and actually enjoyed, but that's The Great Gatsby. I know a lot of people actually really like this one. I know a lot of people are super iffy on classics in general, but The Great Gatsby seems to be universally loved, and I definitely share that sentiment. I think it's an amazing, beautiful story. You either love the characters or you hate the characters, and I think it's definitely one that holds up. One of the ones that I wanted to read in high school but I didn't, but definitely one of the ones that if you read it in high school, there's a lot that you can learn from this. The next one is one that I read again with Benson. If you've been on this channel for a while, you know I am torturing my fiance by making him read my childhood beloved series, Junie B. Jones, and we made it to the 12th volume, which is Junie B. Jones Smells Something Fishy. This one takes place when her school is having a pet day and she's not allowed to bring her dog, and she doesn't really have any other pets. She doesn't just want to bring a photo, so she's trying to find a new pet, and it's just it's really adorable and fun, and I enjoyed this one. I'm not sure if this one is a favorite. I know which one is my favorite. We haven't gotten there yet, but I'm not sure if this one is a favorite or not, but I thought it was super great. I'll have Benson put his opinion somewhere here. Yeah! I know he's gonna tell you he loved it. Absolutely gonna tell you he loved it. The next couple I do not have physical copies of. I think I read them through an audiobook because there was a readathon going on. Don't ask me which one because I have a really bad short-term memory. I did read James and the Giant Peach, and it was kind of very different from the movie version, which I grew up loving. I never read any of his books growing up, but I think I liked the movie better. I know he's a very controversial author, and honestly, I probably would not have picked up any of his works if it wasn't for the readathon. I think the readathon said something about reading a book with a color in the title, and I didn't have one on my TBR at the time, and I was looking for something short that I could get through, and that happened to be available at my library, so I just picked that one up. And yeah, I didn't really vibe. I feel like the characters are so much more lovable in the movie, and we got to see a lot more. Obviously we got to see a lot more because it's a movie, but we got to see a lot more of the characters and fall in love more with the characters in the movie than I did in the book. Anyway, overall it didn't stand out enough for it to be a favorite or even one that would make me want to read more from the author. After that, we had Otherwise. I'm pretty sure this was the weekend that Becca's Bookopoly, the 48-hour edition, was happening. I'm pretty sure I read this next chunk in those 2 days. But the next one we have was an ebook, and I read Otherwise. It was a collection of 5 poems, I think, retelling different Greek myths from the perspective of the women, and I expected so much from this, and I didn't know. It didn't work for me, and I'm really sad about that because I wanted to love this so much. I think my problem with it is we got a synopsis of the entire story of what it was retelling, and then we got the poem, and I know it was probably to make things easier for people who don't know the original myth, and if they want a little bit of a backstory, but I think that took me out of it a lot because I couldn't focus on the poems as much as I wanted to, and there was just something about the writing style that I did not mesh with, that I did not vibe with. And it made me really sad because I really wanted to love it. I love Greek myths, even though I don't tend to read them as often as I would like, or at least read the retellings as much as I would like. But this one it made me sad because I really wanted to love it, and I just didn't. Next one was an audiobook that I picked up, and I probably should have picked up the ebook, but I don't think it was available from my library, but it was Trollbella Throws a Party, which is a children's book based in the Land of Stories world, and it was okay. It just felt so this one takes place when Trollbella it's her birthday, and she is throwing a party for herself, and it just felt like we didn't get to see the Trollbella character that we know from the books and her personality. It just felt like they watered it down a little bit, and they probably did that for new readers who don't really know her personality, but that made me really sad because I've fallen in love with her character. She's goofy and she's persistent, and we don't get that in this book at all. And I know it's a children's book. It's not supposed to be of the same like age range, because The Land of Stories is a middle grade. It's for like a little bit of an older audience. But still, yeah, this just took me out of it a little bit, so I unfortunately didn't enjoy this. I probably still will pick up a physical edition because I'm slowly building my collection of The Land of Stories, and once I actually get like actual bookshelves, I'm hoping to have a whole like Land of Stories shelf dedicated. Words. The next one I picked up was Delicious in Dungeons Volume 1. This whole series follows this group of adventurers who unfortunately lose a member in their party because she's eaten by a dragon, and they want to go back into the dungeons, but they're really low on funds and on food. So in order to do that, they team up with this guy who lives in the dungeons and who starts to teach them about how to eat the monsters that they're fighting. I definitely cannot say this is a wholesome manga because it's a manga about eating monsters, but you quickly fall for these characters, and it's so interesting to see what their next move is. I really enjoy this series. I did just read volume 2 not too long ago. So I can't wait to read more from this and see where their adventure goes, because we're learning a lot. I will say, even though this is a manga about eating monsters and most of the recipes that they make don't sound too appealing, do not read this on an empty stomach. And sticking with the manga graphic novel theme, next I picked up House of Glass, which is the first volume in the Witcher's omnibus. Again, I think this was still for Becca's Bookopoly. I needed something quick that I could read, and I ended up reading just the first volume. This is the whole omnibus of it, but I'm just reading volume by volume. Basically, he teams up with this guy whose wife is living in this house, and spooky crap starts happening, and that plot twist, I'll say I actually really enjoyed this, and I did not expect myself to enjoy it, but I really did, because that plot twist, did not see it coming. You might have, but you might if you read this, but I genuinely had no idea it was coming. And I have also read the second volume, so I'll talk about that, not in this video, but in the next video. But yeah, I actually really enjoyed this one. We'll see where this one goes, and if I end up enjoying these, maybe I'll actually pick up the books. I know that's, again, another controversial series, because thanks. The next one I do not have a physical copy of. I have since unhauled it. I didn't hate it, but definitely did not love it. But that was Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which is, I know, a very beloved classic. I unfortunately didn't vibe with it as much as I wanted to, and it's super short, but it took me a long time to like actually get into. Not like, I'll be honest, I kind of skimmed through it at some point because I was so bored. I feel like once you know the twist, who Jekyll and Hyde are, it takes away that shock value, because it is supposed to be the plot twist, and it doesn't work when you already know. And because it's such a beloved classic, you already know what Jekyll and Hyde is about. So it took away a lot of it for me. So like what should have been a quick and easy 80 pages ended up taking me quite a few hours to get through. On a lighter note, the next one is probably the most beautiful story that I have read this year. And it's definitely there are trigger warnings, so please look into those if you don't know her story before picking this up. But I picked up Medusa by Jessie Burton. First of all, this book is gorgeous. Let's take a minute to take this off. Let's just take a minute to appreciate how beautiful this book is. Not only that, but the contents inside are just gorgeous and heartbreaking, and the writing just pulls you in, even if you don't know Medusa's story. And I feel like even if you, like, I knew the majority of Medusa's story, but there's so much in this that I did not know. And it was gorgeous and heartbreaking, and definitely probably one of the most beautiful books that I have on my shelf, and I could not recommend this enough. It was super fast to get through, and there's a good balance of illustrations and text, so you absolutely get the most of your value. And this book wasn't overly expensive either. $20 for this, but I think I got this at Barnes & Noble, and I have a membership, so it's probably discounted, but still, it's not, like, you get the most out of your value, and it's just the most gorgeous story. Again, strong content warnings. Please do not pick up this book if you don't think you can handle it. This book is not going to be for everybody. There are a lot of hard topics in here. If you don't know Medusa's story, please go into it being super cautious. The next one is also a graphic novel, and it was called Ever After, and to be honest, I don't remember a ton about this, and definitely not a good thing. I picked this up on Kindle. I think I got the ebook from my library, and yeah, I didn't realize it was a zombie story going into it, so that was probably my fault. And I'm not one that typically likes anything zombie-esque. There's a word for it. Oh, post-apocalyptic. That's the word that I was looking for, but I didn't. Yeah, no, it was okay. It was just a 3-star. Didn't particularly care about it. The next book I picked up was actually a favorite on BookTube. This is still relatively new, which is rare for me. I rarely read books very soon after they come out. But I read Gallant by V.E. Schwab. I know people either really liked this or really didn't, and I'm gonna say, yeah, I actually really did enjoy it. This follows Olivia. This follows Olivia, who all her life she assumed she was an orphan. The only thing that she knows she's an orphan. She just assumed she didn't have any family. And the only thing she really had in terms of her parents is her mother's journal. And she has read this back and forth, front and back. Yeah, I said what I said. She has read this journal so much she has memorized all the words. And then suddenly she gets a note from her long-lost uncle telling her to come to Gallant, a place that her mother has always been adamant that she never visit. But she goes. She goes to Gallant, and she is thrust into this world of learning where she comes from, where her mother comes from, who her father is, and it's a great mystery. Like, I really enjoyed reading this. Olivia also does not speak, so we have a little bit of representation for there, and we find out why she can't speak, and it's an amazing story. It keeps you gripped through the whole thing. I will say, this probably isn't a book that you can read in 1 or 2 sittings. Like, this is a book that you have to take your time and digest. And like, there are illustrations all throughout it, and it's just a beautiful story. And I will definitely, this is probably one of V.E. Schwab's best books that I have read by her, and I cannot wait to read. I've read a couple, but I can't wait to read more, because I feel like she's definitely growing on me as an author, and I love it. And then we head into June's wrap up, where I did read significantly less, but I blame that on the fact that it was my birthday month and we spent some time doing other things. The first one I read in June is Blacktop Wasteland by S.A. Cosby. This is the author that wrote Razorblade Tears. That's the book, and it made me want to pick up more from this author. And I definitely like Razorblade Tears more than this, but I still really enjoyed it. I think I listened to the majority of this on audio, and I did really enjoy this author's writing, and I will definitely be looking more into any of his works, because his writing is phenomenal, and I love the stories that he tells. they're definitely not anything that I have ever read before. So I'm looking forward to expanding my reading, especially by reading his works and other authors that write these kind of stories, because I'm surprised at how much I actually enjoy these. Should probably tell you what this is about. This follows Beauregard, or Bug, and he's a race car, well, he's a mechanic. And one of his passions, one thing that he got from his father, who ended up leaving his family, was racing cars. And he used to be in a life of crime, and we get all this background on him. And he's pretty sure he's over that until he gets this proposition to get back into the life, and he really needs the money. So yeah, we kind of see him battling, going back and forth between this, like, I don't want to be this person anymore, and maybe this is the person that I'm supposed to be. So it's really interesting to read and see like what he's gonna do. I will say I'm not the biggest fan of endings like this, even though I know like they're real, and things like this do happen, and it should be the direction that it takes. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. But still, I think this is definitely a book worth reading and an author worth keeping an eye out for. Then I kind of felt myself reaching a rut, a really bad reading slump, which I've had for the majority of the year, which is probably why I haven't updated so much on this channel. Is just because I feel like I'm in so much of a reading slump and a booktube slump, that I'm just not reading as much. But I was feeling in the mood for something light, so I went to Target and I bought some of their middle grade books that they had that looked super, hold on. Some of their middle grade reads that looked super light and easy to get through. And I picked up a book that is from my childhood that I never read. That's the first and second, Dork Diaries, but I didn't read the second one yet. I picked up this one because it looked super easy to get through. It's super short. All through it, it's literally just diary entries with some illustrations in it. And there's, I mean, like, I thought it was cute for when I read it. Nothing special, and it was probably a good thing that I never read this when I was younger, because I probably wouldn't have liked it at all. I barely liked it now. That sounds really bad to say, but even this, which I should have gotten through in maybe 1 or 2 sittings, I just didn't like. Or, not that I didn't like it, I just didn't get through it quick enough because I just kept putting off picking it back up, and this is exactly what I was in the mood for. So, yeah, I'm gonna continue with the second book and see after that how far I'll continue on with the series. But I definitely don't think these are books that I ever would have liked. There's just something quick and easy to get through. I am glad I picked it up though, so I can see what I missed when I was younger, because I had friends who used to read this. Just not something that I ever gravitated towards, and probably something that I won't for a while. The next one, I've already talked about a book, a spin-off of this book a little while ago, but now I'm actually going to talk about a book in a series. No surprise, I have read the 4th book in the Land of Stories series, Beyond the Kingdom. This one, I can't talk about why too much, but this one was not my favorite, and I'm really sad about it. It's probably more like a 3-star, but I think I did give it a 4-star. So the way the 3rd book ends off, it ends off on a little bit of a cliffhanger, and we're not left on a cliffhanger for very long. I mean, you probably were when it first came out, because like most books, you gotta wait a year between, but we find out the plot twist very, very early, at least we as readers. and we're kind of throughout it, we're kind of waiting for Alex and Connor to figure out what the plot twist is, and they figure it out pretty late, so really you're literally just sitting there screaming, hello, this is what's happening, at them, and it's not. I know there are books like that and there are people that do enjoy that. I am not one of those people. I prefer to find out the plot twists with the characters and be just as surprised as them. So when you tell me what is happening in the first 10 pages, I'm not interested anymore, because there's not much of a plot twist that happens throughout the rest of the book when we find out in the beginning. I mean, there are a couple little twists and turns throughout this one, but nothing as surprising as what we learn in the first 10 pages. And honestly, what we learn in the first 10 pages is kind of a cop-out, in my opinion. I still really enjoyed this book, and I liked where it went, and I cannot wait to read the rest of them. I was just a little disappointed in this one because of the direction it took. The next one is Chef's Kiss, and I picked this up for Pride Month because this has well, let me tell you what it's about first. Basically, we follow Simone, who pretty much has always known exactly what she wants to do with her life. She has her dream job all set, and she's very happy where her life is until her company tells her that they are gonna go social. So a lot of different changes are happening within her business, changes that she is not comfortable with. Exactly, she is finding herself being pretty much in the front and center on the new social media posts that her company is making her do, as well as having a new team member that she has to work with whose name is Ray. About a decent way through the book, this is on the back so it's not a spoiler, but about 100 pages into the book we find out that Ray is non-binary. And basically the company does not handle this very well whatsoever. So we see Simone, that's who I mean as her, we see her kind of fight about what's right. Do I really want to stay with this company? Do I want to give up all my dreams? And am I falling in love with this person? It was really cute. We didn't get much as far as the romance. This really is more about Ray being non-binary and how it's handled in media and in the business that she works in. Really, and then we don't get too much of the romance until the last little bit that we see. It's a very slow burn. So if you like slow burn, definitely pick this up, and I definitely really enjoyed it. The next couple I have already returned to the library, but to close out Pride Month, I did read a couple of children's LGBTQ books, which I was gonna make a whole video on, and I'm probably still gonna make that video. I just need to get some more reading material because my library didn't have very much at all. The first one I read is called My Shadow is Pink, and it's definitely one of my favorite children's books. Definitely my favorite LGBTQ children's book that I have read so far. And we follow a young child whose shadow is pink, and they're basically trying to come to terms with what that means and how they might be judged or perceived, especially by their dad. And it's just such a good book because it shows both sides. I'm going to talk about another one in a little bit that has a little bit of more positive reception, but this one definitely shows the struggle that being, or not really struggle, but it definitely shows both sides of being transgender and how that can have both positive and negative effects on people as a whole. And I really liked that, and it's probably just like the most adorable children's book that I've read. I really enjoyed it. I know there are more. There was one called My Shadow is Purple that I really want to read at some point. I'm super excited. The next one I read I didn't like as much. I thought it was just a really cute, silly children's book, but it was Mr. Watson's Chickens, and this follows Mr. Watson, who has a bunch of chickens, but they keep getting in the way and making a mess, so it's kind of putting a damper on his relationship with another with his partner. So they got to figure out what to do with the chickens, and it was really cute. Definitely subtle LGBTQ, which is totally fine. Like, I think we need more books like that, especially in children's books where children can see that kind of relationship and it's not made a big deal. I just didn't like it as much as the others. And the last one is called Calvin, and this is the one I was talking about earlier that has more of a positive reception on transgender, and I definitely liked this. I thought it was really cute. This is about a young boy named Calvin who basically decides that he's going to tell everybody his identity right away, and his family is so accepting of it, and his teachers are accepting, and people in his classroom is so accepting, and it's a very positive reception, which I think is great. But what made My Shadow is Pink stand out just a little bit more is the fact that we got a little of both sides. We got a little bit of the negativity and a little bit of the positivity. So it's more of a realistic approach where you see those nerves instead of like it entirely being positive. I hope this is coming out right. I'm not trying to say like it should be a negative experience at all. I think it's good to have both sides of the conversation come out. And those are all of the books that I read throughout May and June, and I think we have a good mix of the good and the bad. Overall, I think it's been a pretty decent reading year. That was just the first half. I know a lot of what I've read so far are children's books, but I am okay with that, so you should be too. I am of the firm mindset that if you want to read something short, quick, even if it's a children's picture book, just do so. But if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe if you want to see more from me, as well as Benson, who is a frequent member on this channel. I will leave all of his links down in the description box below, as well as links to my social media if you want to get any more updates from me. Again, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.